other version of John 3:16. It's located in the first letter of John to the early church, chapter 3, verse 16. It's not quite identical to the other John 3:16 found in John's gospel, but it's sending the same message. We know love by this, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for one another. How does God's love abide in anyone who has the world's goods and sees a brother or sister in need and yet refuses help? Little children, let us love not in word or speech, but in truth and action. And by this we will know that we are from the truth and reassure our hearts before him whenever our hearts condemn us. For God is greater than our hearts, and he knows everything. Beloved, if our hearts do not condemn us, we have boldness before God, and we receive from him whatever we ask because we obey his commandments and do what pleases him. This is his commandment, that we should believe in the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another just as he has commanded us. All who obey his commandments abide in him, and he abides in them. And by this we know that he abides in us, by the Spirit that he has given us. Laying it down. Baseball just got underway, and all around the country, players are laying down bunts and sacrifice hits. So I thought to look up who laid down the most sacrifices in the history of baseball. The person who laid down the most sacrifices is actually somebody who made the most pop-ups. That is, the most pop fly sacrifices. The sacrifice fly happens when the hitter tries to hit a long fly ball to the outfield. A successful pop fly allows a runner on third base to tag up and steal home safely. A search of baseballreference.com revealed that Eddie Murray of the Baltimore Orioles is the all-time leader in the category of sacrifice flies. Eddie was the 1977 Rookie of the Year for the Baltimore Orioles. He popped up 128 career sacrifice flies to score a runner. He had over 3,000 hits. He had 500 plus doubles and 500 plus home runs. But his unique claim to fame was his ability to hit a pop fly and score that runner from third base. He would lay down his chance for glory to bring home a teammate. He could have tried to hit a double or a homer, but he would lay it down for the team. If he had chosen to swing away, he might have made the 600 club in doubles and or homers, but he chose to sacrifice for the team. Jesus laid down his life to bring us home. Jesus made the ultimate sacrifice on our behalf. Jesus allowed them to pop him up on the cross. From that position, he could say, I forgive you all. And he opened the door of forgiveness that can bring us all home to God. Jesus laid down everything, his life, his reputation, to get us safely home. Speaking of reputation, we need to take a moment to look at what the cross did to Jesus' reputation. In the Old Testament, it says, cursed is he who hangs on a tree. This is based on the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 21, verses 22 through 23. This verse says the Hebrew people should not leave anyone's body on a tree overnight. The body deserves the respect of proper care and interment before nightfall. If Jesus had a public relations officer on his team, it might have led to a pretty strange conversation. We can almost picture Jesus hanging on the cross, and his publicity agent walks up and says, Jesus, there's no way I can put a positive spin on this. There's no way I can rehabilitate your reputation. Jesus, if your hands weren't occupied, I would hand you my resignation. Fortunately, Jesus did not have a publicity agent. Jesus had his disciples. They went on to tell Jesus' story. They went on to enhance his reputation. Jesus was willing to risk his reputation to bring us safely home. John, in his first letter to the church, points to Jesus' example on the cross to teach about laying it down for Christ. John gives advice to the early Christians. Do you have the world's goods? Then do not refuse to help. Help your families, help your neighbors. John has his own way of saying actions speak louder than words. If you're going to talk the talk, Be sure and walk the walk. The words of John remind me of that Harry Chapin song, The Cat's in the Cradle. This was a song about backing up our words. I recall how the song starts with a young boy asking his dad to spend time with him. But the dad, who's busy with his work, keeps saying, maybe next time, son. But it sure is nice talking to you. By the end of the song, the father is on the phone saying, it would sure be nice to see you, son. But the son is busy with his life. He drops a hint, maybe next time. But it's sure nice talking to you. It's sure nice to hear Jesus talk to us. It's sure nice for Jesus to hear us talk to him in prayer. But then John says, when we abide in Jesus, we abide in his love. Jesus did a lot of talking, but when it came time to walk the walk, he walked all the way up the hill to Calvary. He said, no one has greater love than this, but to lay down one's life for another. Jesus talked that talk, and then he walked that walk. He carried his own cross, and he took his stand, and he died there. He backed up his words. As we abide in that example, Christ abides in us. When we carry the smaller cross of our calling, our Christian purpose, and we're laying it down for him, we're keeping our word, just like he did. John talks about how Jesus frees us from condemnation. We can sure get down on ourselves. Sometimes we're much harder on ourselves than anyone else. But remember, Jesus took the condemnation. He took the hit to his reputation. Jesus took the condemnation for us so that we could make it safely home. Jesus' trip to the cross was more than a pop fly. It was a spiritual home run, a grand slam. When they slammed the door on Jesus, he slammed the same door on Satan's fingers. Jesus' actions on the cross, laying it all down for us, was Jesus' long-shot sacrifice on behalf of all of us. Jesus went to bat to bring us all home. When they bring everybody home, it is called the Grand Slam. That's what Jesus did for us. He cleared all the bases. He brought everybody home. Amen.